Well, hey kids, welcome back to Smith Motorworks. If you know the channel, we do Dare to be Different and try to do a lot of different projects. And this time we're going to do something even more different. We're going to focus on something I loved years ago in everybody's favorite magazine about hot rods. It was the 101 Tips and Tricks issue, rather. And it wasn't about spending money or buying new parts. It was about taking what you got and making it work harder or smarter, or making tools, or what parts fit what, and just basically anything in the shop that might help you out in your project. And it was some good stuff that I've used since way back then, since the 80s. And they did it for many, many years, and it kind of just turned into, well, here's how you buy something. And that's good too, but there's other sources to tell you what's the best tool or what's the best deal. This was all go to the junkyard and get this, or saw the end off of this part, and now it turns into this tool. That's the kind of things that we're going to talk about in this series, things that I've picked up on my own, things that I've learned from other people. I'm definitely going to try to give credit where credit's due. So if I misrepresent something or don't cite a reference, call me out in the comments, because I that's not right. I want people to know who the originator of this idea is, because it's only fair. They probably got other good ideas too, and you should check them out. Let's do it. Okay, this is kind of a little bit of me, but a lot more of a guy named Jerry Kirkpatrick. Check him out on YouTube. Former Shelby employee, made the first Diamondback BMX bike. I think he invented the rollover valve for fuel cells. I mean, like a lot of fellows from his generation, he didn't just do one thing; he did everything. Very impressive, really good, informative videos that he's got on his channel. And this is one thing he taught me. This is actually an ice cube tray. And yeah, it looks like a hot dog tray or something like that. But that's kind of what the shape that you want, because it's 4 water bottles. You freeze these up, and you got this little, spike, and you throw it down your water bottle, and it's supposed to cool it down. I'd never heard of them before, but he was putting taps in them. And I'm like, oh man, that's the perfect size. Well, you throw the taps in there. You don't know what you got, but hey, we got a label maker, so I marked them up. You can see I got duplicates in here, but it keeps them from smacking into each other. Got a nice cover so they don't get any crud on them. Keep them clean. Put them in here. This lid, I'm not gonna throw this on the floor because it'll fall off, but the lid stays on good enough, because it has to put in your freezer, pull on and out. It stays on good enough that you don't have to baby it when you're moving it around. You can pick it up and set it down where you're working. Take what you want out, put it back. I've got half a dozen of these full of taps, and you can put some pretty big dog taps in here. You get into the big stuff, like 3/4 inch or something massive, pipe thread or something like that. It's not going to fit. But those, when you buy those, you're probably getting them from a tool house or something, and they got their own little carrier for them. But these are great, man, for putting them in there. If you got, taper taps, plug taps, bottoming taps, whatever, you may have a whole selection of these things, and you put them in there, sorts them all out so you don't have to go fishing through them. And it's kind of like files. You don't want them touching each other. They just kind of dull each other out when they smack together. But what he inspired me from this little discovery is that they make another size of these, and these are for more like a bar. These are little, like, I don't know, like hemisphere kind of shapes in here. It's also an ice cube tray. They're almost the same footprint, I guess. But your button taps, your button dies fit in here. This is stuff I've had since I was like 15, pretty much. There's round and there's some hexagonal ones in there, but they fit right in that hole, man. It is just like, holy cow, I couldn't believe it. Same deal, labeled them all up. I don't even have this one full, so I can add more to it, but great way to put them in there, and you can just glance through there and grab what you want. I didn't they may be sort of in size order. These might be the taps. They're not. They're just whatever I grabbed. But who cares? As long as you know where it is, and it's a label, you can pull it off and reorganize them later on. But these are super cheap. This is an Amazon item. Same deal. Lid stays on pretty good, so you don't have to baby it. But great way to organize your stuff, so where you can put it in a drawer and pull it out and get what you want and get to work. This one's kind of fun. It's another one. I don't remember where I found out about it. It wasn't my idea. I saw it somewhere else. So definitely want to give credit where credit's due, but I just don't know where I got it. This is the bones or remnants of a caulking gun. You can kind of see here. Here's the the trigger and the mechanism. It's pushing the ram out that would normally push whatever's in the tube out the end, but the barrel's gone, and I think I just popped it off of there. It was like spot welded or riveted or something. It didn't put up much of a fight. Well, what do you do with this thing? Well, this right here, if you imagine a brake caliper, you can stick it down in a brake caliper, and you want to probably do it with some junk pads or something in there, because this will try to go inside the piston or pistons. Especially if you got multiple pistons, you need something to push against, or it'll pop in between them. But this goes up against the frame of the caliper. The other side goes up against the pad to the piston side, and you can goof around and make it work. I've used it on all different size stuff, and you squeeze it and you push that piston back down in there. But you say, that's dumb, I just use a C-clamp. Well, sure, and I do too sometimes, but it's a little easier to get this in place. You don't need a third hand trying to hold that C-clamp, and you got to crank and crank and crank that C-clamp, and you just got to squeeze this. They do make tools like this that are kind of like a specialized C-clamp. They got a big handle on the end, and you screw it in and it pushes it out. But I mean, it's as close to free as you can get. You go into any thrift store, and they got these laying around, and they're $1. You may even have one that's bent up or beat up, and just tear it up and use it. They're not a lot of money any way you look at it. Even if you bought it new, they're not a lot of money, and they're making one of these is a whole heck of a lot cheaper than buying one of those tools, that is specialty tools. And you want to keep using the C-clamp, you can. I still pull it out of there sometimes, but it gets to be where it takes up a little bit of space, and it's just another way of doing it. You got another maybe quicker way to retract those pistons, and you don't have to work so hard. Dare to be different, right? All right, what in the world we got here? This is not some kind of Rube Goldberg setup. This is kind of a variation of the old service shop trick, where they would take the old oil cans when they used to make them, and dump them into a pan, and use it for their oil cans, or heck, they probably put it back in another car or something. I don't know about that for sure, but I'll tell you what, I changed my own oil, and it's not because I'm a cheapskate, which maybe I am a little bit, but it gives me a chance to kind of check the car over a little bit. But why does that matter? What do we got going on here? Well, you usually, if you're wanting to save money, you buy, the closest amount that you can get to what your oil capacity is to get the bulk discount, which this is 5 quarts. And I think this is for maybe the Explorer that I have. I don't remember. But another thing, I buy Motorcraft for my Fords. I buy Delco for my GMs. I buy the Mopar stuff for my Dodges. I try to keep them the way they came if I can, or at least the approved stuff when I can afford it. And so I'm not saying, oh yeah, buy Motorcraft and whatever, because I got Valvoline stuff over there too. But what I did here, this is what I want you to see, is the surface tension in the inside of this bottle holds a whole lot of oil, in there that you can't pour out unless you want to wait for an hour for each one to drain. Well, gravity is working 24/7, so get you the big bottle here. Keep it. What I did here, let's see if I can do this one-handed. Oh, look at that. My big old muscly arm right there. Cranked it loose. This is basically 2 of these caps that I bored a hole through it, put a gasket between them, riveted them together to make a coupling. So what I could do is when I get a bottle of oil that I poured into the crankcase, I can crank it back on here and let it drain, let it set, let it go. Now I kept this one. This is really just like an elaborate cap. There's nothing in here anymore. It's all empty because I used it for, old cars that leak oil and filling them up that use this weight of oil, or put it in my oil can, because it's good, clean oil. Why not use it? But you can make this, pretty much the big bottles and the little bottles from the manufacturers, they mix together really well, so you can kind of make this setup for anything. You could do it with a funnel, but then you got dust and dirt coming in there. This is all nice and sealed. I can cap this up, let it set, and it's ready to rock. And you end up getting quite a bit of oil out of it. You'd be shocked at how much is still in the bottle. And then I pour it into something else and use it on another project. All right, you want to make your spray paint last longer? Of course you do. This stuff is $10 a can sometimes, and especially if you're buying kind of specialty paints or some of the brand names, it's $7 easy. Well, this might be a little controversial, but I will tell you it works. See, what's in the can is basically maybe, I don't know, a third, half of actual paint, and the rest is propellant. And you shake it up. That's why you're supposed to do that, to get it to go. Well, when it sets upright for a while, the lighter stuff moves to the top and the heavy stuff moves to the bottom. So your paint separates from the solvent that's in it, and then the propellant is up at the top. You hit spray, it pushes a little bit of that unthinned paint up in the straw or the valve, and it gets stuck, and then now you are unhappy because you can't get any paint out of this can that you paid $10 for. So here's the trick. Lay them down on their side. Yeah, maybe it makes it a little harder to see, but if you got them in like pigeonholes and you can see the end of the cap, or you put a label on them, it's not so bad. I don't have that many to sort through, so I'll just dig through these and get them. But what happens when you do that is now all that stuff is kind of stacked the other direction, and it's not siphoning up that tube when you pick it up to shake it up. So definitely do this. I can tell you it works. Some of this stuff in here is years old, and it still works. I mean, there's some engine paint in there that's got to be 7 years old. I may never use it again, but if I do, I know it'll work. And there's a dot. Sometimes I looked through these earlier, but sometimes when you take the cap off underneath there's a red dot, and that's telling you the location of the pickup tube. So turn that straight up too when you lay them down. You may think it's crazy, may not work out with your shelf system, but after you throw away $20, $30 of paint, you might want to consider it, because I'll tell you it works. This is another one. I don't remember where I learned it, if it was online, if it was in a magazine, but it does work. I've been doing it for years and won't ever go back. Here's another good one. Having a cookout or a party or whatever, get a bunch of 2-liter bottles. Before somebody rounds them up, throws them in the recycle bin or the trash, get them, take them. Here's why. This is an oldie but a goodie, and I believe I got this from one of the car mags. These make an awesome funnel. I mean, that end right there, it's got a little flange on it. It'll sit right in the cam cover, valve cover hole, and it won't rock out, and you can use it to fill oil or whatever. This one, I got a bunch of these, and this one's filthy because it's been sitting around. You just wipe them out, wash them out. You can cut them at any length you want. This one I got for antifreeze, water, whatever, radiator cooling systems. And I, use the Mountain Dew because it's green. Helps me remember, and I don't really have to read my crappy markings that are on there. But, you save the cap. You can put that on there. And so if it's, it's got something on the inside, it isn't going to leak out all over your floor or your shoes. But these are free. You can get them out of the trash. Work super good. You can put pretty much anything in them. I mean, it's blow molded plastic. So you can put gasoline or something in here. It just isn't going to hurt it. Really good, cheap, free funnel. Don't have to worry about tearing it up. If you do tear it up, so what? Get another one. Here's another one, cheaper, free. This is so filthy it's hard to see, so you're going to have to trust me. This is a little baby bottle. I haven't had a baby in the house for many, many years. But where do these end up? Yard sale, Goodwill, trash. Yeah, what are you going to do with it? Well, here's what I do with it. It's a graduated cylinder. It's marked with metric and U.S. numbers going up to the top. So if you want a couple ounces or milliliters or whatever it is you need, you can see right through these things when they're not covered with grease and oil like this one is. But they're really handy. Like you're trying to mix a certain amount of chemicals together. This is pretty good. And if you're like us, we had a bunch of these, and I'm down to my last because it's been, like I say, 15 years or so since we had somebody that wanted to drink out of one of these. So, I've torn them up by putting fiberglass resin or whatever in it. But man, it's a marked cylinder. You don't have to guess or get into your wife's cooking stuff and make her mad. Probably let go of these for little to nothing, and you might see some at a yard sale, and that's probably not going to be something that people want to buy because they want nice, clean stuff for their baby. I get that, but you'll get them for nothing or next to nothing. Or you got a relative that has them, pick them up, get a couple. Don't need to be a hoarder, just need a few. And of course, they make the the tall boy version for the overachievers. More better, you can get up to I don't remember what it is, 8 ounces, 12 ounces, something like that. But very handy. Free graduated cylinder for you. All right, you got a hammer or a mallet or an axe where the head's about ready to fall off the end of it. Well, you can get these staves and jam them in there. I've got some that got nails and screws and stuff that other people's put in to kind of wedge that out. Well, and they come with that from the factory. This has one in there, has a stave driving down there, kind of push that wood out into the head, makes them expand it up to where won't slide off of there. But there comes a point where how many more can you put in there? Well, here's a really good trick that I think I found on a forum. Wish I knew who to credit to, but I don't. But antifreeze. Get you a pan of antifreeze or something enough to go up past where the hammerhead or axe head or whatever is. Set this stuff in there. I think you could probably get away with overnight. I left it in there for several days because I wanted to make sure that it totally got waterlogged, and that's what it did. The wood soaks all that stuff up. It swells up, and it's stuck on there. I mean, this was in the trash at work because it was dangerous. You'd swing it, and you could see the head wiggling. Well, you fling that back one time, it flies up and it, knocks your teeth out or something. But, man, it is on there now. Tell you what, and I've done that to several of my other ball peen hammers. The ones you swing, more and harder usually are the ones that it happens to the most. But dunk it down in some antifreeze. It soaks that stuff up. It swells up, and it's like brand new again. And you don't have to mess with putting any staves or screws or any other junk in there that, you get to a point to where there's no more you can do. But the antifreeze works great. Now, you could say, hey, I heard that trick, but, Granddad used water, because I've heard a really cool story of old fellas with 20s cars. The wood spoke wheels, they'd come loose too. They'd drive them down in the creek and let them set, and the same thing. The wood spokes would soak up, swell up. Now the wheels doesn't rattle anymore. It's real tight. Well, they do that with the hammer handles too. Well, that's great, but water evaporates, and the antifreeze doesn't. So this is probably 3 years old. It's not come loose. I don't even think it needs to be new antifreeze. probably use something that you're going to dump out or take to the recycle bin and dunk them in there. So another good tip: don't have to throw your hammers away. All right, I like this one a lot because cutting fluid and or cutting oil, it gets pretty expensive. I got some. We had a busted container at work, and I got some. That's why this is empty. I got some that we're gonna have to dump. So I got a little bit of a supply. But before that, I used this, and I think this was a sriracha bottle. Yeah, that's what it was. It's got a nice little cap, it's like a ketchup bottle, but you can open, close it, and just squirt that stuff on your bandsaw or on your mill or lathe or whatever you're cutting, because your tools just last longer when you keep them cool with this cutting fluid. But what do these numbers mean, and what are you doing here? Well, oil and water don't mix, so if you just said, okay, water and oil, which most of your cutting fluids are there's a lot of water. You can see by this number here, they're water based, so they can kind of be biodegradable. Now this really wouldn't be with the motor oil in it, but you're going to use it up and dispose of it properly. But what this means is, and I put this in here so you could kind of see, it's like 12 parts water, 3 parts dish soap, 4 parts motor oil. Okay, that's kind of a weird mix ratio. Usually it comes down to 1, but I did it like this because 12 water is 1 cup. All right, 3 dish soap is 1/4 cup. If you think about that, there's 4 3s and 12, right? And 4 motor oil is 1/3 cup. So I get a 1/3 cup motor oil. I mix it with the 1/4 cup of dish soap. Mix that up good because those two will stick together. They will stay in suspension. This is the linkage, just kind of like soldering. This and this won't stick together, water and oil, but this sticks to that, and it also sticks to that. So it's the bridge. So you get your 1/3 cup motor oil. Don't matter what it is. I wouldn't use dirty motor oil. Your 1/4 cup dish soap. Get your Dawn or your Walmart equivalent or whatever you got, and then your cup of water. Mix it up. You need more. Double the formula, but you mix it up. It kind of makes sort of what it ends up looking like is kind of like you got a blown head gasket and you pull the dipstick out and you've ruined your day. That's what it looks like. But it mixes up really good. It stays in suspension, and it's cheap. You can get. It don't matter what kind of motor oil you got, just as long as it's clean. Everybody's got access to water, at least they should. And the dish soap, that stuff's cheap too. So you're only using a little bit of it at a time. I could make some up, but I got some kind of store-bought factory cutting fluid that I'm using right now, or I would be using it. But I would tell you, it works. It's nice. It definitely saves your tools. So try it out. Okay, I know exactly where this one came from. I don't know whether he invented it or not, but he's the guy that taught me. If you get on 65 Ford's YouTube channel, he recycles old screwdrivers. You can get those for free or next to nothing at the thrift store too, because maybe the bit's chewed up or they're just some crappy old brand that nobody wants. The screwdriver itself, it's probably worthless, but the handle, yeah, you can buy file handles for pretty cheap, but these are free or next to nothing, and they actually work better. I get a better grip. You don't want to ever use a file without a handle. You're gonna have a big old pierced hole in your hand when that thing pops back at you, or you push too hard. But you can just knock the handle off of the old screwdrivers pretty easy. I put the metal ferrule back on this old screwdriver handle. The screwdriver was wrecked. It had been like in a toolbox that was on a sunken boat or something, and so the bit itself was just ruined, but the handle was still good, and popped that on there. This was a plastic one. I wouldn't use this on a mill or something because it might blow apart on here, but it's good that you grab onto it and not stab your hand. But again, it popped it off. You can either kind of drill a pilot hole or something in here to get it up to size. I heated up the tang on the file, and you can see where it melted on this. Heated up the tang, and then just burned it in, pushed it in, kind of like you ever watch the Forged in Fire show where they burn in a handle on a knife. Same idea. You get that tang like hot, and get the whole. It's not going to push a 1/4 inch cross section into a 1/16 inch hole or something. It needs to be kind of at least the lead in size here to get it started. But you push it on there and it's tight. I mean, there's no epoxy, nothing. It's jammed on there. It's good. You got a free handle. You can buy them from Nicholson or whoever. But like I said, these are free or next to nothing. So save some money. Okay, here's a cheap tool that you need to get. Probably not going to get this one for free. And I'm trying to keep this free or low buck. And a regular old file card is low buck. This is kind of exotic, but it's the ultimate, I think, if you want to take care of your files. I actually found out about this. I knew about file cards, but I found out about this from Tubalcane, who's on YouTube. He's the internet shop teacher, I think, is what he goes by. But he knows everything, and he had one of these things, and it's old. Who knows when they stopped making these? But I found one. I got lucky. Somebody didn't know what it was on eBay and listed it for a really low price. Nobody bid on it because the description was goofy, and I got it. But it really is just a really nice file card. Where you're scrubbing the stuff out of the file teeth. Because if you got something like aluminum or something, it's going to clog it up, and then the file just don't work no more. But the added bonus is it has this little pick in here for removing what they call pins from the file teeth. Because this sometimes won't yank out all the crud in there, and you can kind of rake over this with this pointed pick here. And you could make one of these, but if you can get one of these, get it. If not, get you a file card. Take care of your files. They're expensive, and more the better. I mean, I pick them up, and I figure if they wear out, I can turn them into slapping files or knives or whatever. But if you find one of these, get it. It's maybe a rarity these days, but they were out there. I saw a bunch of them on there, but usually it's one of those I know what I got kind of situations, but maybe not. Check them out. Well, how about that? That was pretty fun. I said 101. We may go 201, 1001. I don't know. We're going to keep adding them up as I recall and remember them, and I guarantee at least 101. But there's going to be several parts of this one, and going to try to index it so you can scroll through and see the ones that you think you're interested in. But I encourage you to watch them all, even if you know this one already. Just comment. Tell me about how you used it, what you did with it. Maybe there's an improvement that you discovered. This is how we all learn. This hobby relies on people talking to each other and doing that back and forth. And we're going to keep doing the Dare to Be Different thing until the end of time. Thanks for watching. Smith Motor Works. Later.